Breaking: Keir Starmer just destroyed Rishi Sunak's political legacy with one brutal question in Parliament. No warning, no mercy, no holding back. Just 43 seconds of pure devastation that left the Conservative benches in absolute chaos. And if you think Prime Minister's questions is just political theatre, what happened 48 hours ago will change your mind forever. It started with a moment that felt almost too quiet. Wednesday afternoon, the House of Commons was packed. Every seat filled, every eye focused forward. Rishi Sunak sat on the front bench, confident, composed, surrounded by his cabinet. He'd prepared for the usual back and forth, the predictable attacks, the standard political dance. But what Keir Starmer said next wasn't standard at all. It was calculated, personal, and designed to cut straight to the bone. He stood up, adjusted his notes, looked directly at Sunak, and asked a question that no one saw coming. The details of what he said are still being replayed on every news channel in Britain. But one thing is absolutely clear. He didn't just challenge the Prime Minister. He humiliated him. And for the first time in modern parliamentary history, the Conservative Party realised they were watching their leader get publicly destroyed in real time. If this sounds intense, hit subscribe, because what happens next gets even more explosive. Within minutes, something extraordinary started happening on the Conservative benches. MPs who are trained to stay composed, to project unity, to never show weakness, they couldn't hide it. Faces went pale. Whispers turned into frantic conversations. Senior cabinet ministers exchanged glances that said everything without saying a word. One backbencher was seen literally shaking his head in disbelief. Another slumped back in his seat like he'd just watched a car crash. The Speaker of the House had to call for order 3 times because the noise level in the chamber was spiralling out of control. And through it all, Rishi Sunak sat frozen, his face blank, his jaw tight, his hands gripping the dispatch box like it was the only thing keeping him upright. According to one parliamentary aide who spoke anonymously, the mood inside the chamber shifted from routine debate to absolute panic in less than 60 seconds. One Conservative MP was overheard whispering to a colleague, "He just ended him." Right there, in front of everyone. That phrase spread through Westminster like wildfire, because what Keir Starmer did wasn't just politics. It was surgical precision. By Thursday morning, the full weight of what happened started to sink in. News outlets across Britain were running the clip on repeat. The Guardian called it the most devastating takedown in parliamentary history. The Times described it as a political execution. Sky News brought in constitutional experts who couldn't stop analysing every word, every pause, every facial expression. Social media absolutely exploded. Hashtags like Starmer destroys Sunak and Tory meltdown hit trending worldwide within hours. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of them flooded with reaction videos, memes, commentary. One clip of a Conservative MP covering his face with his hands went viral with over 8 million views. The caption read simply, "The moment he knew it was over." Suddenly, this wasn't just a parliamentary exchange anymore. It was a cultural moment. And the entire country was watching. Then came the response that shocked everyone. Thursday afternoon, Downing Street released a statement. Not through a press conference, not through an interview, just a short written response posted quietly on the official government website. It was vague, defensive, and completely unconvincing. The statement tried to downplay what happened, calling it routine political debate and emphasizing the government's commitment to delivering for the British people. But political analysts saw right through it. Within minutes, commentators were calling it the weakest response in modern political history. One former Conservative strategist said it live on the BBC. "When your defense is this thin, you've already lost the argument." The statement didn't stop the bleeding. It made it worse, because instead of addressing what Starmer actually said, instead of defending Sunak with facts or passion or conviction, the government just looked scared. And in politics, fear is contagious. Inside Conservative headquarters, panic turned into full-blown crisis mode. Senior party officials held emergency meetings that stretched late into Thursday night. According to sources close to the party, the discussions weren't about damage control anymore. They were about survival. One senior strategist reportedly said, "We've got 72 hours to turn this around or we're finished." But turning it around wasn't going to be easy, because by Friday morning, the polls told a devastating story. A YouGov survey showed that 74% of British voters believed Keir Starmer won the exchange. 63% said Rishi Sunak looked weak and unprepared. Another poll revealed that Labour's lead over the Conservatives had jumped by 6 points overnight. 6 points. In less than 48 hours. That's not a shift. That's a collapse. Conservative MPs started receiving messages from constituents, angry phone calls, emails demanding answers. Local party offices reported donors pulling funding, volunteers stepping back. The machinery that keeps a political party running was grinding to a halt. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer said nothing. No follow-up statements, no victory laps, no interviews. He simply went back to work. On Friday, he attended a community event in Birmingham. He shook hands, listened to concerns, smiled for photos. Not a single word about what happened in Parliament. And that silence became his greatest weapon. Every photo of him looking calm and in control made Rishi Sunak look more desperate by comparison. Political commentators started calling it the art of quiet dominance. Starmer didn't need to gloat. The damage was already done. And by staying silent, he let the story grow on its own, fed by Conservative chaos instead of Labour spin. But here's where it gets truly dramatic. Behind closed doors, Rishi Sunak's own cabinet started turning on him. Reports emerged Friday afternoon that the Chancellor, the Home Secretary, and several senior ministers held a private meeting without Sunak present. The topic, according to insiders, was simple. Can he recover from this? And if not, what's the plan? One cabinet minister, speaking anonymously to The Telegraph, said something that sent shockwaves through Westminster. We've stood by him through scandals, through policy failures, through bad polling. But this is different. This isn't about policy. It's about respect. And if the Prime Minister can't command respect in Parliament, he can't lead the country. That quote hit the front page Saturday morning. And suddenly, the question wasn't whether Sunak was in trouble. It was whether he'd survive the week. By Saturday, the Conservative Party conference, scheduled for the following month, became the centre of speculation. Party officials were reportedly debating whether to delay it, cancel certain speeches, or restructure the entire event to avoid further embarrassment. Because the last thing they needed was for this story to dominate the news cycle for another 4 weeks. But the damage was already spreading beyond Westminster. In Conservative strongholds across England, local MPs were facing backlash. A town hall meeting in Surrey turned hostile when residents demanded to know why their MP still supported Sunak. In Kent, a Conservative councillor resigned, citing a complete loss of confidence in national leadership. Even in traditionally safe Tory seats, the ground was shifting. One polling expert described it as a tectonic political shift happening in real time. Then came the moment that changed everything again. Sunday morning, Nigel Farage appeared on live television. Calm, controlled, and absolutely relentless. He praised Keir Starmer's performance, calling it a masterclass in political strategy. Then he turned his attention to Rishi Sunak. When a leader can't defend himself in Parliament, Farage said, when his own party looks embarrassed to sit beside him, that's not a political problem. That's a leadership crisis. And Britain deserves better. The audience erupted in applause. Overnight, Reform UK's website crashed because so many people tried to join or donate at once. Farage's approval ratings jumped by 14 points in 48 hours. And suddenly, the Conservative Party wasn't just fighting Labour anymore. They were fighting a war on 2 fronts. And they were losing both. Inside Downing Street, Rishi Sunak watched his authority disintegrate in real time. Every attempt to regain control failed. A planned economic speech was overshadowed by questions about his leadership. A photo opportunity at a hospital turned into a media ambush about party unity. His press team tried to schedule interviews to reset the narrative, but producers were more interested in asking about the fallout than the policy agenda. One senior aide was overheard saying, "It's like trying to steer a ship that's already sinking." And while Sunak scrambled, the opposition sensed blood in the water. Labour MPs were openly mocking the Conservatives in Parliament. Angela Rayner gave a speech Thursday that included a line everyone noticed. When the Prime Minister can't answer a simple question, maybe it's time for a simple solution. Step aside. The Labour benches roared with laughter. The Conservative benches sat in stony silence. By Monday, exactly 5 days after the exchange, constitutional experts started raising a question no one wanted to ask out loud. Could Rishi Sunak actually be forced out before the next election? Historically, it's rare, but not impossible. In 2022, the Conservatives removed 2 prime ministers in 1 year. The mechanism exists. The 1922 committee, the body that represents Conservative backbenchers, holds the power to trigger a vote of no confidence. And according to sources inside the party, letters were already being submitted. Quietly, carefully, but consistently. One former Conservative minister told the Financial Times, if he doesn't turn this around in the next 2 weeks, the letters will reach critical mass. And then it's over. The international reaction was just as brutal. CNN ran a segment calling it the most dramatic political takedown since Tony Blair destroyed William Hague in 2001. American analysts couldn't believe what they were watching. One commentator said, "In the US, we are used to political chaos. But this is something else. This is a prime minister being dismantled in front of the entire world." European newspapers ran headlines like Britain's leadership crisis and the fall of Rishi Sunak. Even Australian media picked up the story, with one Sydney-based columnist writing, "The British Conservative Party is eating itself alive, and Keir Starmer didn't even have to lift a finger." Back in Westminster, the atmosphere turned toxic. Conservative MPs were avoiding each other in the corridors.